In the summer of 1953, a researcher at the United States Department of Agriculture named Everett Jameson filed an internal report that was never published in any public journal. He had spent 2 field seasons documenting tick populations on farms across rural Pennsylvania, Amish farms specifically. After receiving complaints from neighboring conventional farmers that the disparity in tick pressure between the 2 farming styles had become impossible to explain through standard entomological models, the conventional farms were treating with the best chemical tools available at the time, organochlorine compounds applied on schedule at recommended concentrations by the book. The tick populations on those farms were significant, recurring, and chemically resistant. The Amish farms had no tick problem. Not reduced, not managed, absent. Jameson documented what the Amish were doing differently. They were applying diluted essential oils, primarily cedarwood, lavender, and eucalyptus, to the perimeter of garden beds, to livestock bedding, and directly to the soil surface around high-traffic areas. They had been doing it for generations. They considered it unremarkable. Jameson's report recommended follow-up research. The recommendation was not acted upon. Within 3 years, the USDA was co-funding the commercial development of synthetic acaricides with 3 major chemical manufacturers. The oils kept working. The research stopped. Why ticks are harder to kill than anyone told you. Ticks are arachnids, not insects. They navigate primarily through a sensory organ called Haller's organ, located on their front legs, which detects carbon dioxide, humidity, heat, and volatile organic compounds simultaneously. A tick waiting on a blade of grass is not waiting blindly. It is reading a continuous stream of chemical information and making navigational decisions based on what it detects. This is the vulnerability that essential oils exploit, not by poisoning the tick, not by creating a physical barrier, by saturating the chemical environment with volatile compounds that either block Haller's organ receptors directly or mimic the chemical signatures that ticks have evolved to avoid. The tick does not die. It reads the chemical environment, identifies it as unsuitable, and moves elsewhere. The response is immediate, instinctive, and consistent across tick species. This mechanism has been understood in academic literature since the 1990s. The commercial tick control industry has never had a financial incentive to explain it in plain language. The oils and what they do. Cedarwood oil is the most comprehensively documented tick repellent in peer-reviewed literature. The active compounds are cedral and cedrine, sesquiterpenes with a direct effect on tick neurology. A 2011 study published in the Journal of Medical Entomology tested cedarwood oil against Ixodes scapularis, the black-legged tick responsible for the majority of Lyme disease transmission in North America. At a concentration of 1% in water solution, cedarwood oil caused 100% repellency in treated zones over a 24-hour period. At 0.5%, repellency remained above 90%. The mechanism is direct neurotoxicity. Toxic to ticks at field application rates, completely harmless to mammals, birds, and beneficial insects at the same concentrations. The selectivity is a function of biology. Tick neurology is vulnerable to cedral in ways that vertebrate and beneficial insect neurology simply are not. Lavender oil operates differently. The primary active compound, linalool, acts as a receptor blocker, occupying the olfactory receptor sites that ticks use to detect carbon dioxide and host odor. A tick in a linalool-saturated environment cannot accurately locate a host. Its navigation system receives noise instead of signal. A 2017 study from the University of Florida tested linalool-based formulations against 3 tick species simultaneously. All 3 showed avoidance rates above 85% in treated zones, persisting for 72 hours after a single application. Eucalyptus oil, specifically lemon eucalyptus, Corymbia citriodora, produces a compound called PMD, paramenthane 3,8-diol, which the U.S. Centers for Disease Control recognized in 2005 as providing protection equivalent to low-concentration DET against both mosquitoes and ticks. It is the only plant-derived compound to receive that designation. Used together, the 3 oils create overlapping chemical coverage. Cedarwood handles direct neurological suppression. Lavender handles receptor interference. Eucalyptus provides broad-spectrum backup across species the other 2 do not specifically target. The combination is what the Amish were using, not because they had access to peer-reviewed literature, but because generations of observation had told them it worked better than any single oil alone. Why this was never on a label? The global tick and pest control market is worth $22 billion annually. Essential oils cannot be patented. A 100 milliliter bottle of cedarwood oil sufficient to treat an entire garden perimeter costs between 3 and 6 euros and lasts a full season with weekly reapplication. The total annual cost of a complete essential oil tick management system is under 20 euros. A single can of commercial synthetic acaricide costs between 15 and 30 euros and treats a fraction of the same area for a fraction of the same duration. The economics are not complicated. Neither is the reason the research Jameson recommended in 1953 was never conducted. How to apply it? The perimeter spray. Mix cedarwood and lavender oil at 10 milliliters each per liter of water, adding 5 milliliters of eucalyptus oil to the same liter. Add half a teaspoon of liquid castile soap as an emulsifier. Shake thoroughly before each application. Apply to the perimeter of garden beds, the base of hedges and fencing, areas of long grass adjacent to the garden, and soil surfaces along paths and transition zones. These are the areas where ticks quest, where they wait on vegetation for a passing host. Saturating these zones interrupts the chemical environment they depend on. Reapply every 5 to 7 days during peak tick season and within 24 hours of heavy rainfall. The scent perceptible to humans dissipates within 2 to 3 hours. The chemical residue effective against ticks persists for several days after. For livestock and chicken runs, add cedarwood oil to bedding at 5 milliliters per square meter. The oil binds to organic material and releases slowly over several days. For chicken coops specifically, a weekly application to nesting boxes and perch surfaces addresses both tick and red mite pressure simultaneously. Red mite, the most economically damaging parasite of backyard poultry, shows the same receptor vulnerability to cedarol as tick species. For the garden soil, once per month through the growing season, water the oil mixture into the top 2 centimeters of soil around bed perimeters and path edges. Tick larvae and nymphs overwinter and develop in the top layer of soil. A monthly application disrupts the development cycle before the tick reaches questing age, addressing the population before it becomes a problem rather than after. What the Amish understood. The Amish farmers Jameson documented in 1953 were not using essential oils because they had read the research. They were using them because the knowledge had been passed down through generations of observation, because someone, decades or centuries earlier, had noticed what Jameson would later measure and had simply kept doing it. That knowledge survived because Amish agricultural practice does not reset with every generation of commercial product development. It accumulates. What works continues. What does not stops. The tick control industry resets deliberately. New formulations, new active ingredients, new resistance profiles requiring new products. A system designed to keep you purchasing rather than to keep you protected. 3 oils, 20 euros a season, a spray bottle in 5 minutes once a week. The ticks read the chemical environment around your garden and find somewhere else to be. They always have. The Amish just never stop telling them to.